The first time I saw Olivia Sullivan, she was standing in the sterile glow of the marriage registry office, looking like a mirage I had no business seeing. I'd paid $9.99 for a fake bride to placate my family, some girl from an online gig platform who was supposed to play along for an afternoon. Instead, the clerk looked at us with cold contempt and said, "You're already married. Bigamy is a crime." I walked out of that office holding a printed certificate I didn't remember signing, staring at a woman's name I'd never heard. Olivia Sullivan. The photo was mine, the seal was official, and the girl I'd hired had already vanished with my deposit, leaving me with a question that would turn my entire life inside out. I didn't know then that the answer would unravel a conspiracy 20 years in the making. Ryan Lockwood had spent his entire existence being told he wasn't enough. Born on the wrong side of the Lockwood family's carefully curated legacy, he was the illegitimate son they tolerated but never accepted. His mother, Linda, made sure he understood his place from the moment he could speak, beneath his brother Frank, unworthy of the family name, a stain on Richard Lockwood's pristine reputation. But here's what they didn't know. Ryan had been playing a longer game. The beat-up scooter he rode through the city's luxury districts was a deliberate choice. The shabby apartment in the urban village was a calculated disguise. Because while the Lockwood family saw a pathetic bastard son, the scientific community saw something else entirely. Dr. Ray, the reclusive genius who had single-handedly revolutionized clean energy technology, was a name whispered with reverence in the highest academic circles. They just didn't know he was a 22-year-old who'd been working in secret since middle school. The only kindness Ryan had ever known came from Sophia Lockwood, the woman he believed was his father's wife. She'd slipped him food when Linda withheld it, offered him warmth in a house that treated him like furniture. He'd spent years repaying that debt by funneling his inventions through her, propping up the Lockwood company without ever revealing his identity. It was the least he could do for the only mother figure he'd ever had. And then came the day Linda demanded he marry someone, anyone, to prove he wasn't pining after Cindy, the woman who'd chased him for 4 years in college only to end up engaged to Frank. So Ryan found a fake bride online, thinking he could check a box and return to his real work. Instead, he walked out with a real marriage certificate and a wife he'd never met. The Sullivan family was High Cheng's most powerful dynasty, and Olivia was its new, terrifying head. At 28, she'd returned from exile abroad and wrested control from her father in a move that had shocked the entire city. Cold, calculating, and utterly untouchable, she was the last person Ryan should have been entangled with. But as he'd soon discover, their marriage wasn't an accident. Olivia Sullivan had been fighting her own war. For years, the Sullivan patriarch had tried to marry her off to suitable families, using her as a bargaining chip for business alliances. She dodged every arrangement with icy precision, finally announcing she was already married to a man from an ordinary background, a phantom husband who conveniently never appeared in public. It was a lie that had kept her free, a fiction she'd maintained for years without anyone questioning it. What Olivia didn't know was that her grandmother, the formidable old matriarch of the Sullivan family, had quietly made that fiction a reality. Old Mrs. Sullivan, whose mind was fading but whose instincts remained razor-sharp, had recognized something in Ryan when she first glimpsed him years ago. She'd arranged everything, forging the signatures, pulling the strings, and crafting a marriage that would bind her granddaughter to the one person she believed could truly understand her. But that secret would take time to surface. First, Ryan had to survive. It began at the Lockwood mansion, where Ryan had reluctantly returned to satisfy Linda's demands. The moment he walked through the doors, the servants' whispers followed him like a curse. "That's the illegitimate son. He knows his place, moved out in middle school." He pretended not to hear, just as he'd pretended for 22 years. Linda dragged him upstairs immediately, her grip bruising. "Come see your brother first," she ordered. "Did you get the certificate?" "Got it," he said flatly. "Good. Remember your place. Cindy is Frank's fiancée. A top-tier elite like her is something an illegitimate son like you could never dream of. Only your brother is worthy of her." Mockery flashed through Ryan's eyes. Cindy had chased him for 4 years in college, declaring her love on graduation day before running straight into Frank's arms. Linda had demanded Ryan find someone immediately, terrified that Cindy might still have feelings for him. He'd been a pawn in their games his entire life, and this was supposed to be the last time. In Frank's room, the golden child smiled his practiced smile. "Ryan, what brings you here?" Before Ryan could respond, Linda jumped in. "Frank, Ryan got married today." Frank's surprise was theatrical. "That fast? Who's the woman? Is she better than Cindy?" Linda scoffed. "How could she be? In all of High Cheng, no one has higher status than Cindy. What decent woman could he find? Just some street thug. He didn't even dare bring her here, afraid her trashy look would offend your eyes." Frank's voice carried jealousy. "How could that be? Ryan is so handsome. Otherwise, Cindy wouldn't have chased him for 4 years. Handsome means nothing. With his status, only some random nobody would marry him. Cindy just treated him like a toy." Ryan stood in silence, the woman in the photo burning in his memory. Olivia Sullivan was anything but a street thug. She was the most powerful woman in the city, and somehow, she was his legal wife. But he didn't bother arguing. He was too busy trying to understand how any of this had happened. Then Frank wanted his shoes tied. His shirt was too tight to bend over, and he smiled slightly, looking at Ryan. Linda shoved him immediately. "You useless thing. Your brother can't bend down. Hurry up and put his shoes on for him." Ryan's expression turned cold. "You can do it yourself." "Ryan, what's that attitude? You think you can fly the coop just because you got married?" You're still going to depend on the Lockwood family. If you don't make nice with your brother now, one day you and your wife will come begging him. Richard Lockwood appeared at the door, cutting off Linda's tirade. An important guest is coming. What are you arguing about? Linda instantly shifted to tearful victimhood. It's this ungrateful brat. He got his marriage certificate today, and now he doesn't respect me as his mother anymore. Richard looked at Ryan. You got married. Let me see the certificate. Ryan pulled it from his bag, but Linda snatched it away. Let me see what your thug of a wife is actually called. Richard addressed Frank. The Sullivans are coming. Specifically, Olivia Sullivan. She's Cindy's aunt, only 28, and she's already the real person in charge of the Sullivan family. Very mysterious. Even I've never met her. Ryan froze. The name echoed in his mind, aligning with the photo he'd been staring at. His mystery wife was about to walk through the door. Linda gasped. Then doesn't that make her a better match than Cindy? After all, the real person in charge of the Sullivan family sounds way better than some eldest granddaughter. Richard grew irritated. What are you talking about? Miss Sullivan is already married. Married. The word hit Ryan like a physical blow. If the woman on his certificate was truly Olivia, then she had to know what was going on. Or did she? Linda felt disappointment. Who's her husband? Even more blessed than Frank. Richard frowned. No idea. They say neither she nor her husband enjoys social events. Linda declared firmly. It must be because Frank is too outstanding, catching the attention of the Sullivan family. She turned to Ryan, her voice dripping with mockery. Look at her. She's even more invested in Frank than Mrs. Lockwood, his real mother. The words made Ryan's stomach turn. Because he knew something they didn't. Sophia Lockwood wasn't Frank's mother either. Linda had seen to that 22 years ago. The truth about Ryan's birth was a poison that had been slowly killing him for years. Linda had been Richard's childhood sweetheart, a woman desperate to claim the man she loved. When Richard married Sophia instead, Linda's obsession curdled into something darker. She'd seduced him in a moment of weakness and become pregnant. But when she presented the proof, Richard had rejected her coldly. I won't betray my wife. So Linda had waited. She'd bided her time until Sophia gave birth on the same day she delivered her own child. In that moment of chaos, with the hospital understaffed and the Lockwood family distracted, Linda had swapped the babies. Her biological son, Frank, became the cherished heir. Ryan, the trueborn son of Richard and Sophia, was condemned to a life of shame as the despised, illegitimate child. Sophia had never known. She'd raised Frank as her own, showering him with the love meant for her firstborn. Linda had watched it all with bitter satisfaction, playing the role of the scorned mistress while secretly reveling in her victory. But there were cracks in the facade, moments where her love for Frank betrayed her. Why else would she have always shown the boy she called her son such open warmth, while treating Ryan with such calculated cruelty? And then there was Sophia herself. Even sick, even trapped in a marriage that had been poisoned by Linda's schemes, she'd always been kind to Ryan. She'd left food for him in the garden when Linda denied him meals. She'd spoken to him with patience and grace when the rest of the household treated him like furniture. Ryan had worshipped her from afar, never understanding why this woman, who had every reason to despise the product of her husband's infidelity, treated him with such unexpected gentleness. What Ryan didn't know was that Sophia had her own suspicions. Something about Ryan had always felt familiar to her, a resonance she couldn't explain. In moments of quiet, when she watched him move through the house, she'd felt a tug of recognition that made no logical sense. She'd dismissed it as sentiment, a mother's love for a child who had been wronged. But intuition, as she'd learned, was rarely wrong. The Sullivan family's arrival at the Lockwood mansion was a moment of reckoning. Richard led them into the reception hall, his flattery dripping like honey. Olivia Sullivan swept through the doors like a blade, cold and sharp, her eyes cutting across the room. Ryan watched her from the shadow of the staircase, his heart pounding. He'd never seen anyone so beautiful. Her face was more striking than the photo had captured, her bearing regal, her presence commanding. And when she glanced in his direction, something flickered in her eyes. Recognition? Wariness? He couldn't tell. She withdrew her gaze almost immediately, leaving him more confused than before. Richard smiled obsequiously. Miss Sullivan, where's your husband? He didn't come with you. Olivia glanced at Ryan again, her expression unreadable. He's busy. The crowd ushered her toward the reception hall. Cindy followed behind, looking more composed than she had in college, chatting with Frank like she'd never chased his brother for 4 years. Ryan watched it all with a detachment that was almost clinical. He'd learned years ago not to expect anything from the Lockwood family. Linda grabbed his arm, her nails digging into his skin. Ryan, what are you still doing here? Don't tell me you haven't given up on Cindy. She's your sister-in-law now. He shook her off with a mocking smile. Relax. I have no interest in being someone's side piece. Mr. Lockwood asked me to stay for a celebratory drink. Don't be ridiculous. On an occasion like today, even I can't go in to avoid embarrassing the Lockwood family. Are you an illegitimate son fit to sit at the table? Get out right now. Ryan's patience frayed. He watched Olivia walk toward the balcony, her phone pressed to her ear, and made a decision. Without a word, he broke away from Linda and followed. Olivia ended her call as he approached, turning to face him with icy eyes. The hostility in her gaze made him falter, but he pressed on. He'd waited too long for answers to give up now. Honey. He tried, the word slipping out before he could stop it. Her eyes stayed frigid. She didn't respond. She just looked at him like he was a nuisance, a problem to be dismissed. Don't recognize me? He pressed. Olivia looked down at him. Move. Should I know you? Sir, I'm married. Please show some respect. Ryan blinked, stunned. She clearly didn't know him, yet she claimed to be married. Could the registry office have made an error? Who's your husband? None of your business. He pulled out the marriage certificate, thrusting it toward her. Miss Sullivan, the woman on this should be you, right? Olivia's eyes landed on the man's name. She sneered. Mr. Ryan, an original certificate isn't expensive. If you're going to forge one, at least be professional about it. She handed it back and walked away, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. Ryan chased after her, but 2 bodyguards blocked his path. Miss Sullivan, this certificate is real. If you don't believe me, check at the registry office. Olivia got in her car and drove away without looking back. The days that followed were a blur of frustration and confusion. Ryan rode his scooter home through the city's streets, replaying the encounter in his head. Olivia had looked at him with such cold disregard. She dismissed his claims entirely, but she'd also said she was married. Could the certificate be a mistake? The registry office's records were meticulous, but errors happened. His phone buzzed. Jenny, his assistant, had found information on Olivia. Boss, Olivia is the second daughter of the Sullivan patriarch. She was sent abroad as a child because she was too ruthless for the family's liking. Everyone assumed control would go to her eldest brother, but she returned last week and forced Master Sullivan to step down. No one knows what tactics she used, but she took direct control of Sullivan Group. Ryan frowned. Find her contact information and schedule. I'll go find her later. Hanging up, he rubbed his temples. This was getting complicated. Given Olivia's status, seeing her would be a challenge. He'd scared her off by calling her honey, and now she wouldn't trust him. Sighing, he started his scooter and headed home to the urban village where he'd been living since middle school. He was almost there when an old woman darted out into the road. He slammed on the brakes, nearly hitting her. For a moment, he thought she was a scammer, but a second glance revealed an elegantly dressed old lady with a tag around her neck that read, "If found, please call the number. Generous reward." Alzheimer's, he realized. He took out his phone to dial the number, but the old lady grabbed his wrist, her eyes lighting up. "Grandson-in-law? You're my grandson-in-law." Ryan's mouth twitched. "Grandma, who's your granddaughter? What's her name?" The old lady's face scrunched in concentration. "Oh right. Her name is break time equals for 100 ms / what was it again?" She looked anxious, unable to find the words. "Don't worry," he said softly. "It's okay if you can't remember." He dialed the number on her tag. Not far away, Olivia sat in her car with a grim expression. Her grandmother had wandered off again. The family doctor, Dr. Fong, had tracked her to the suburbs, but the streets had few cameras. Just as Olivia was about to order a citywide search, her phone rang. Ryan's calm voice came through. "Hello, your family's elderly lady is currently in my hands." The atmosphere in the car froze. Bodyguards tensed, someone prepared to call the police, and Liam began tracing the signal. Olivia's voice turned razor-sharp. "How much do you want?" Ryan laughed softly. "Just kidding. I wanted to tell you to take better care of the elderly. Here's the address." Minutes later, they arrived to find only a police officer waiting with old Mrs. Sullivan. Olivia's grandmother looked triumphant. "I came to find my grandson-in-law. He lives nearby." Olivia's brow furrowed. "Grandma, there's no grandson-in-law. Impossible. I saw him. That heartless boy handed me over to the police and left." Shaking her head, Olivia turned to go, but old Mrs. Sullivan had already taken her phone, copied the recent call number into her little notebook, and was smiling with satisfaction. "Finally, I have my grandson-in-law's contact info." The next morning, Ryan was summoned to his university advisor's office. Frank and Linda were already there. Professor Walker, a kind man with a worried expression, got straight to the point. "Ryan, your graduate school recommendation has been revoked. Your mother said you're unsuitable. Is there a misunderstanding? Apologize to her. You have a bright future." Frank sighed dramatically. "Ryan, you offended Mrs. Sullivan. She announced she'd make you disappear from High Cheng." Ryan stared at them in disbelief. He'd only said a few words to Olivia. She hadn't seemed angry when she left. And Frank was a notorious liar. Frank handed him a plane ticket. "Dad bought you a ticket. He wants you to go abroad to lay low. The Lockwood family can't protect you." Mockery flashed through Ryan's eyes. They were afraid he'd drag them down. "No." Frank produced a bank card. "I've put 50,000 yuan on this. It's not much, but it should help you get started." Linda snatched the card. "What are you doing?" The Lockwood family buying him a ticket is already generous enough. She turned to Ryan. "Pack your things and leave immediately. I've already filed your withdrawal from school." Ryan looked at her coldly. "What gives you the right to make decisions for me? I'm your mother. Besides, with your grades, you probably won't graduate anyway. You might as well work abroad and make money sooner." Professor Walker tried to intervene. "Ryan's mother, you've misunderstood. Ryan's grades are actually quite good." Linda cut him off. "Professor, you don't need to speak for him. Don't I know what he's like?" Frank interjected with false modesty. "I took the special admission route. It was because of Dr. Ray. His hydrogen-based clean fuel research succeeded, got a patent, and earned him a doctoral title. Dr. Ray is my mother's former protege. He's been helping our company all these years." Ryan's expression flickered. Dr. Ray was his own pseudonym. He'd invented the persona years ago to hide his identity while supporting the Lockwood family. Frank had just hijacked his own legend. Professor Walker was delighted. "Ryan, your research direction is the same as Dr. Ray's. I'll introduce you to him. If he puts in a word for you, maybe your recommendation can still be saved." Frank pretended concern. "But Dr. Ray only does favors for my mother. If it's for me, he'd help, but Ryan is my father's illegitimate son. He might not help." Ryan's voice was flat. I've never wanted to do graduate school anyway. Linda sneered. After offending Miss Sullivan, you think you can find a job in High Cheng? Keep dreaming. Professor Walker spoke gently. If you can't find work, come be my teaching assistant. Ryan's heart warmed. Professor, Miss Sullivan and I just have a small misunderstanding. Once it's cleared up, it'll be fine. Frank clenched his fists. Ryan, are you really going to keep pestering Miss Sullivan? She's married. You're being inappropriate. Linda's anger ignited. She slapped Ryan hard across the face. He looked at her in disbelief, but she pointed at him and cursed. Apologize to your brother right now, and promise you'll never go near the Sullivan family again. The warmth drained from Ryan's eyes. She'd seen his earlier warning as empty words. She still thought he was the same submissive boy who worshipped Frank. Since reason had failed, he wouldn't hold back anymore. Frank watched with smug satisfaction. In their childhood, Ryan had always groveled. At university, he'd walked with his head held high, but Frank had assumed it was a passing phase. Today, Linda would teach him a real lesson. Ryan walked slowly toward Frank. Just as Frank smiled, expecting an apology, Ryan punched him hard in the face. Frank's head snapped back, his eyes unfocused from the blow. Linda screamed. Ryan, how dare you hit him? Ryan's head whipped around, killing intent in his gaze. Linda froze. I'm your mother. Are you going to kill me? His voice was ice, each word deliberate. You weren't a kind mother, so don't blame me for being an unfilial son. Don't interfere in my life anymore. If you do anything to me again, I'll repay it twofold on Frank. He withdrew his gaze, bowed deeply to Professor Walker, and left. Outside the school gates, Jenny called. Boss, I found out why Olivia says she's married yet doesn't recognize you. The Sullivan family has had brutal internal struggles. Master Sullivan favored the eldest son's family and tried to marry Olivia off to unsuitable men. It caused a huge uproar until Olivia announced she'd already registered a marriage with an ordinary man. The husband was never seen, never mentioned, and never attended a family banquet. The only explanation, Ryan already knew. She invented a fake husband to escape her family's machinations. Exactly. She's never been to the registry office, so she doesn't know you're actually married. Ryan's lips curled into a half smile. I'll go corner her in person. Sullivan Group was a fortress of glass and steel, but Ryan was prepared. He donned a delivery uniform, carried a package, and sweet-talked the receptionist into letting him upstairs. The 88th floor was an ocean of secretarial staff, all serving one person. Liam intercepted him at the door. Mr. Ryan, what are you doing here? His face darkened. Throw him out immediately. Ryan shoved a delivery ID in his face. Liam read the registration date. 8 years ago. Working through school, Ryan said lazily. Is that not allowed? He called through the door. Miss Sullivan, can you cooperate with my work now? Olivia's voice came from inside. Let him in. Liam fumed as Ryan walked past him into the office. The CEO's office was minimalist and cold, like the woman behind the desk. Olivia signed the delivery slip without looking up. Miss Sullivan, you're not actually married, are you? Ryan dropped the bombshell. The pen froze mid-stroke. Her cold gaze locked onto him. I know my words sound absurd, he said earnestly, but we really are married. Olivia straightened, a flicker of amusement on her face. Mr. Ryan, don't waste your effort. Even if I were unmarried, I wouldn't marry you just to spite Cindy. He realized then. She knew about his past with Cindy and thought he was seeking revenge. I'm not looking for you because of Cindy. I want to divorce you. Don't come bothering me again. Olivia signed the slip with quick strokes. Or don't blame me for getting nasty. Haven't you already gotten nasty? You announced you'd make me disappear from High Cheng. Olivia frowned. When did I? Her phone rang. It was Grandma's special ringtone. She answered, and the caretaker's voice came through, frantic. The old madam is missing again. Olivia rushed out. Ryan tried to follow, but Liam blocked him. I suggest you stop here. That evening, Ryan turned a corner near his apartment and found the same old lady tiptoeing behind him. He sighed helplessly. Grandson-in-law, she said, grabbing his wrist. Don't even think about abandoning me again. Inside his cramped apartment, the old lady drank 3 cups of water in a row. I really am not your grandson-in-law, Ryan said. Yes, you are. She was stubborn, clutching her cup like it was a lifeline. He dialed the number on her tag, but she snatched the phone away. Olivia answered. Where are you? She demanded. Old Mrs. Sullivan's voice was triumphant. I'm with my grandson-in-law. Don't come looking for me, she said, and hung up. She handed the phone back with a smug look. Grandson-in-law, taken care of. Ryan stared at his phone. WhatsApp pinged with a friend request. The note said granddaughter of the elderly lady. He accepted, and she immediately messaged. Please look after my grandmother for a while. She can't be agitated. He started to type a refusal, but movement from the kitchen caught his attention. The old lady was boiling an egg. Hungry, he asked. You can't just eat an egg. She smiled, her wrinkled face warming. Grandson-in-law, press this egg on your face. It'll help with the swelling. Ryan froze. He hadn't even noticed the redness on his cheek from Linda's slap, but the old lady had seen through him. The words melted the coldness wrapped around his heart. He looked at his phone again, at the granddaughter's transfer of 300,000 yuan with a note. 1 week's living expenses. He deleted his refusal and wrote, Fine. At the Lockwood mansion, Frank's cheek was swollen from Ryan's punch. Linda sat with her head bowed. When your father gets back, I'll have him punish Ryan severely. Sophia Lockwood came downstairs, her sickly figure supported by the butler. Her voice was weak, but firm. Ryan isn't that kind of person. You must have provoked him. Frank, though unwilling, changed tactics. Mom, could you invite Dr. Ray to serve as a professor at High Cheng University? Sophia refused sternly. You can't leverage past kindness for personal gain. Dr. Ray has already done more than enough for our family's company. But Dr. Ray might want to teach there. We could just help connect him with the school. Sophia found the reasoning sound. She took out her phone and opened WhatsApp. I'll ask him. Frank stayed beside her. Dr. Ray has done so much for our family. Shouldn't we host a banquet for him? Then you can ask him in person. Sophia was convinced. She messaged Dr. Ray, do you have time to come over for a visit? Ryan saw the message and his heart leaped. Why would Sophia suddenly want to meet? Could her health have worsened? He stood, ready to rush out, but then another message came. Not now. I'm just working overtime on Saturday. Wanted to invite you for a casual meal. He sagged with relief. After a moment's thought, he replied, I should be the one treating you. Saturday at 6. See you. But just as he exited the chat, Olivia sent instructions on caring for her grandmother. He stepped into the spare bedroom and sent a short video of the old lady sleeping peacefully. Olivia's response came quickly. Thank you. That night, in the car, Olivia handed the video to Dr. Fong. Grandma is already sleeping, she said. It's only 9 o'clock. Dr. Fong was stunned. Old Mrs. Sullivan really is different around this young man. If he can stay with her continuously, her health will improve. Olivia's gaze deepened. The next day, Ryan was cleaning his scooter outside his building when a familiar voice came from behind. He turned to find Cindy, her face dark and accusing. Frank told me about your background, she said. Why did you hide it from me? While I was a fool chasing someone like you for 4 years, was that fun for you? Ryan's chest tightened. He'd never thought 4 years of friendship could be shattered so easily. But he stepped back, his voice cold. No. His decisive attitude irritated Cindy. She grabbed his wrist. You can't leave. Anything else? Her anger rose. She was the one who'd let go, yet now she felt like the abandoned one. Still working side jobs? Why don't you be my personal assistant? 50,000 yuan a month. You don't have to do anything except live in my apartment and serve my daily needs. His eyes turned glacial. You want me to be your kept man? Cindy scoffed. You're definitely qualified. After all, your mother was a side piece herself. Call it a family tradition. Ryan threw her to the ground. Enough. She stood up and laughed instead of getting angry. Think about it. Change your mind. Find me anytime. He laughed bitterly at himself. That evening, Olivia came to the apartment to check on Grandma. Dr. Fong offered to enter with her, but she stopped him at the door. Give me the equipment. Wait in the car. She slipped into the apartment while the shower was running, glancing at the bathroom door before turning her attention to the sleeping old lady. Olivia checked her vital signs quickly. Blood pressure, blood sugar, heart rate, all remarkably healthy. Old Mrs. Sullivan stirred, grinning. My grandson-in-law takes such good care of me. Olivia relaxed slightly, but kept her composure. She packed up the equipment. Since you're fine, I should go. Not staying for dinner? My grandson-in-law cooks really well. It's not convenient. Olivia set down the equipment. I'll leave this here. Take it away. My grandson-in-law doesn't know how to use it, and I don't want Dr. Fong coming here. I want you to check on me every day. The water in the bathroom stopped. Olivia grabbed the medical case and fled. I'll come back tomorrow. Ryan emerged fully dressed to find an empty room. Where's your granddaughter? She left. Said it wasn't convenient. She's always so proper, always pulling that long face. Old Mrs. Sullivan looked at him with pleading eyes. Grandson-in-law, is that why you don't like her? She can change. I'm not your grandson-in-law. Yes, you are. He shook his head, helpless. She was wonderful about everything except this one stubborn matter. Days later, old Mrs. Sullivan insisted on going home to get clothes. Ryan messaged her granddaughter for the address, but when he opened the location, his blood chilled. Estate number 1. The Sullivan family compound. He hadn't dared think she could be a Sullivan, but the imposing antique-style black gate proved otherwise. He looked at the drowsy old lady. Grandma, is this your home? Her eyes were blank. Grandson-in-law, I can't remember. He messaged the granddaughter. Wait there, she replied. I'll be right over. But before she arrived, Frank and Linda stepped out of a luxury car. Linda's brow knit tightly. Ryan, it really is you. What are you doing here? Frank eyed the closed Sullivan gate. Are you here harassing Miss Sullivan again? Linda exploded. Get out of here right now. If you ruin Frank's engagement, I won't let you off. Ryan suppressed his annoyance. I'm bringing an elderly lady home. We took a wrong turn. Frank snorted. Is this your wife's grandmother? How could she live in this neighborhood? Why couldn't she? Linda started cursing viciously. Stop pretending like your dirt poor wife's grandmother could live here. She turned to the old lady. Old hag, tell me, which villa number do you live in? Ryan stepped forward, but the old lady suddenly straightened. I remember now. I live here. She took his hand and walked toward the Sullivan gate. Frank jeered. Ryan, you found all these excuses just so you could use the old lady as a shield to get into the Sullivan house. Ryan froze, realizing the truth. The cold, ruthless Olivia Sullivan was the polite granddaughter on WhatsApp. He'd never made the connection. Linda charged forward, reaching for the old lady. Ryan shoved her away, shielding the old woman as Linda staggered back. How dare you hit your own mother for this old hag? The old lady trembled, her hand pressed to her chest. Ryan quickly reached for the emergency heart pills in her pocket, but the bottle was empty. He looked at the Sullivan gate. The family would have medicine. He lifted the old lady, but Frank grabbed his arm. The Sullivans won't let you in. Frank's eyes gleamed with malice. Ryan's rage exploded. He kicked Frank to the ground, but Linda clung to his leg with all her strength. He was trapped, fury and helplessness warring in his chest. Then a black car pulled up. Olivia stepped out, her voice sharp. What are you all doing? Frank quickly composed himself. Miss Sullivan, it's Ryan. He insisted on bringing a dying person to the Sullivan estate to pull a scam. It's my fault for not stopping him. Olivia's pupils contracted when she recognized the woman in Ryan's arms. Grandma. She strode toward them, panic barely contained. Ryan spoke quickly. The old lady is having a heart attack. Her pills ran out. If we get her medication in time, she'll be fine. Olivia took her grandmother, rushing into the Sullivan estate without looking back. Ryan tried to follow, but Linda was still clinging to him. Frank sneered. So that's what he's banking on. Bringing that old hag to crash the Sullivan gate. The gate opened, and Cindy walked out. Ryan, are you here because you've changed your mind? Her tenderness was calculated. If you really want to go in and take a look, that's possible too. Frank cut in. Ryan is waiting for his wife's grandmother. The old lady just had a heart attack and was carried in by Miss Sullivan. Cindy's eyes turned red. What wife? Ryan, who is that woman? Ryan looked at her mockingly. Cindy, who my wife is has nothing to do with you. Let's see who dares marry you without my approval. Frank quickly added, according to Ryan's mother, she's some street thug. Cindy clenched her fists. An illegitimate son and a thug, a perfect match. Frank added fuel to the fire. Ryan can't accept it either. That's why he keeps pestering Miss Sullivan. Ryan sneered. Frank, you call yourself the young master of the Lockwood family, yet your mind is full of nothing but dirty thoughts. Is that all you've got? The butler stepped through the gate. Mr. Ryan, Miss Sullivan invites you inside. Everyone froze. Ryan looked at the gatekeeper with a half smile. So can I go in now? The gatekeeper glanced at Cindy, then opened the gate without hesitation. He knew who really ran the Sullivan family. Inside, old Mrs. Sullivan sat in the main seat, her luxurious clothes hiding her poor complexion. She glared at Linda. You wicked woman. Who are you calling an animal? Olivia sat coldly to her left. Linda froze. Frank's legs went weak. He nearly collapsed, and Cindy caught him. What's wrong? Frank's hands trembled. Ryan, why did you lie to us? Telling us old Mrs. Sullivan was your wife's grandmother, making us disrespect her. Suspicious gazes turned on Ryan. Linda quickly caught on. You knew old Mrs. Sullivan has Alzheimer's, yet you dared to deceive her. Kneel down and apologize right now. A teacup flew through the air, hitting Linda square on. Scalding tea spilled over her, but she didn't dare scream. He is my grandson-in-law, old Mrs. Sullivan snapped. Linda, enduring the burning pain, insisted, Madam, you've been deceived. I'm certain his wife is just a thug. Cindy's mother, May, spoke up. Olivia, is he really your husband? Ryan silently looked at Olivia, bracing for the expected answer. No, she said. His anger flashed. Frank's face showed delight. Linda sneered. I knew this was all Ryan's doing. But Olivia's voice rang out again. Grandma mistook him, so I asked Mr. Ryan to help look after Grandma for a while. Everyone fell silent. Frank lowered his head. So that's what happened. Ryan, why didn't you tell us the truth? If you had, this misunderstanding wouldn't have happened. Olivia leaned back on the sofa, her voice carrying strong authority. Mr. Frank, hiding behind others and shifting blame when things go wrong. Is this how the Lockwood family teaches the young generation? Old Mrs. Sullivan fumed. You think I'm losing my mind and can't see through your little tricks? Making mistakes without remorse and trying to shift the blame. You two are utterly shameless. She looked straight at Cindy. Call off the engagement. I refuse to acknowledge your husband. Frank's body shook. The marriage he'd worked so hard to secure couldn't end like this. He turned to Cindy, but she was staring blankly at Ryan. Frank, it's my fault, he said quickly. Don't worry. Even if the engagement is called off, I'll still introduce you to Dr. Ray. Cindy snapped back to reality. Dr. Ray was still her ticket to the R&D department. She addressed old Mrs. Sullivan. Great-grandma, Frank didn't know any better. Please forgive him. Both families have already exchanged betrothal gifts. Calling off the engagement would be very inappropriate. Old Mrs. Sullivan gave her a long, deep look. Whatever. After all, Cindy's parents will decide what to do about her matters. Cindy's mother smiled, pressing her point. Grandma, did you forget the engagement gift? You previously said you'd give the young couple 2% of the shares. Old Mrs. Sullivan lowered her eyelids. I'm not satisfied with Cindy's husband, so I'm not giving it. Frank turned pale, utterly humiliated. The servants would talk. Soon all of High Cheng would know he'd been rejected by old Mrs. Sullivan. Elite families valued face above all, and she'd stomped his pride into the dirt. But old Mrs. Sullivan didn't care. She pulled Ryan and Olivia to her courtyard, made an excuse, and hurried away with her people. In the blink of an eye, only the two of them remained. In the courtyard, with the night air cooling around them, Ryan hesitated. Olivia looked at him with veiled disdain. "You've got terrible luck." Not to be outdone, he shot back. "Silly girl." Her expression darkened. He'd charmed Grandma into telling him even that, confirming her suspicion that his motives were impure. Grandma latching onto him could be an accident, but his kindness in taking her in, what if Grandma had let something slip about her identity? Ryan pressed on with the matter at hand. "I remember you said you'd help me with one thing. Could you come to the marriage registry office with me to check our marital status?" Olivia's face darkened. "Fine, let's go. But if it turns out to be false, I expect you to stop using Grandma as an excuse to pester me." Old Mrs. Sullivan's head popped out from a window. "You naughty girl, are you bullying my grandson-in-law?" Olivia's expression stiffened instantly. Dinner was simple, for dishes and a soup, but old Mrs. Sullivan had no appetite. After a few bites, she set down her chopsticks. "Grandson-in-law, I'm tired. Let's go home. Don't tire yourself out. Stay here tonight. This courtyard is like a small retirement home, fully equipped with medical machines." She grabbed his hand nervously. "Then can you stay and keep me company?" Ryan glanced at Olivia, who was watching him with suspicion. "Fine," she said, but her eyes warned him, no improper thoughts. After dinner, he took old Mrs. Sullivan to her room. She was exhausted, and the moment she lay down, she drifted off. But she slept restlessly, so he sat by the bed, listening to her soft breathing. Outside, Olivia spoke to Dr. Fong in low tones. "What's going on with my grandmother?" The doctor studied psychology. "Although I don't know why old Mrs. Sullivan has fixated on this young man, I can guess why she's so anxious. She probably feels she won't make it through this year. She's afraid that once she's gone, you'll have no one to bond with. The grandson-in-law is the only one she can leave behind to keep you company." Olivia froze, her dark eyes churning with emotion. She stood in the moonlight like she was about to merge with the darkness behind her. After a long moment, she turned and strode toward the main house. Frank was having a very difficult meal. May's words were sharp with dissatisfaction. "Isn't Ryan supposed to be your family's illegitimate son? How is it that he can charm old Mrs. Sullivan, but you can't?" Frank lowered his head. "Auntie May, I'm not as sweet-tongued as Ryan when it comes to flattery." "I don't care what method you use," May sneered. "You'd better get those 2% shares back for me, or forget about marrying into the Sullivan family." Frank finally finished dinner, eager to leave, but Olivia returned. The moment she walked in, she brought overwhelming pressure into the room. Her gaze swept over the lavish dinner and darkened. "Grandma didn't eat anything tonight, yet you're all here enjoying yourselves." May didn't dare speak. Cindy's father, Eric, frowned. "Olivia, what brings you here?" Olivia ignored her nominal elder brother and turned to Frank. "Since the engagement hasn't been called off, he's now considered part of the Sullivan family. He disrespected an elder today. His punishment is to kneel in the ancestral hall for a whole night." She waved to her bodyguards. "Please." Frank looked pleadingly at Cindy, but she clearly didn't dare defy the head of the family. He had no choice but to follow. Just before leaving the room, he heard Cindy ask, "Auntie Olivia, what about Ryan? Did he leave?" Olivia's reply was sharp. "He's my guest. He's staying at the Sullivan estate tonight." Frank followed the bodyguards to the ancestral hall. "Lady Olivia said you two aren't married yet, so you can't enter the Sullivan ancestral hall. Kneel outside." The stone floor was hard, and the night was cold. The two bodyguards watched him without mercy. The next morning, Ryan woke to find himself in bed covered with a pink blanket that didn't match old Mrs. Sullivan's room. He didn't think much of it. After washing, he joined the old lady and Olivia for breakfast. A plate of fried sugar cake sat in the middle of the table. Old Mrs. Sullivan reached for one immediately. Olivia frowned. "Grandma, your blood sugar is high. You shouldn't eat such oily and sugary food." Ryan's calm voice cut in. Grandma, this sugar cake isn't good for you. And the stubborn little old lady put the sugar cake into his mouth instead. Olivia studied him with a scrutinizing gaze, not understanding why Grandma listened to him so readily. By the way, Ryan said, when we go to the marriage registry office later, you need to bring your ID and household registration booklet. Old Mrs. Sullivan perked up. What are you going to the registry office for? We lost our marriage certificate. To their surprise, old Mrs. Sullivan hurried into the bedroom and returned with 2 red marriage certificates. It's not lost. Ryan stared at the certificate in his hand. He'd been called grandson-in-law from their very first meeting. Old Mrs. Sullivan had known all along. Grandma, why is this certificate with you? Old Mrs. Sullivan's eyes became hazy. I can't remember. How did Miss Sullivan and I get married? She kept shaking her head. I don't remember. Grandma, think harder. Enough. Olivia snapped, stepping forward to block him. Her voice was cold, detached. Mr. Ryan, this certificate is real. Next, are you going to say there's no need to go to the registry office? So this was your goal all along. First, you used the legitimate pretext of going to the registry office to pester me, then trick Grandma into producing this fake certificate to make her believe it. Ryan found her suspicion utterly baffling. We don't have to go today. Divorce isn't something you settle with one trip. For 2 years, we've been legal spouses with many asset division issues. We need to sign a divorce agreement first. He paused, then reluctantly added, suit yourself. Olivia studied him, uncertain. Was his acting that good? Or was the certificate actually real? She picked it up and headed out. Wait for me in the parking lot. In the parking lot, Linda was supporting a pale-faced Frank. The moment Linda saw Ryan, she rushed over. You must help your brother. Ryan, you're an illegitimate son, but the Lockwood family didn't hold your background against you. You should repay the Lockwoods. Ryan had heard this brainwashing for 20 years. Now it was just laughable. Linda seized the moment. Now that you've grown up, you finally have a chance to repay us. Ryan, doesn't old Mrs. Sullivan listen to you? Go ask her to give those 2% shares back to your brother. Ryan laughed. I'm just a lowly illegitimate son. How could old Mrs. Sullivan possibly listen to me? He strode past her and climbed into Olivia's car. At the marriage registry office, Liam rushed over, breathless. Boss, the driver said you drove off alone. I tracked you by location. Is something wrong? Olivia stayed tight-lipped. How did you end up here? Liam thought his boss was paranoid. Boss, don't worry. He won't be able to see you again. Otherwise, I'll live stream eating. Ryan's lazy voice came from the back seat. Which live stream channel? Liam froze. Inside the service hall, Liam spoke first. Hello. I'd like to ask, can someone get a marriage certificate without being present in person? Absolutely not, the clerk answered. Liam looked at Ryan mockingly. Did you hear that? You even prepared a fake certificate. I'm calling the police. Olivia handed over the certificate. Please check whether this is genuine. The clerk examined it. This certificate is genuine. Impossible. Did you register the information wrong? Nonsense. Marriage is a serious matter. Both parties must have their identities verified and sign declaration forms. Ryan stepped in. Can we see our declaration forms? The clerk reluctantly agreed. You two are really in sync as a couple. Soon, 2 registration documents were placed before them. Ryan glanced at the handwriting. It was really his. Liam gasped. Boss, this really is your handwriting. Olivia fell silent. Hello, Ryan said to the clerk. Could we see the security footage from the day we registered? Sorry, we only keep footage for 6 months. There are absolutely no errors in our process. Both parties must be present in person to obtain the certificate. The 3 walked out. Liam looked lost. Boss, what do we do now? Olivia's eyes darkened. Divorce. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Divorce. They said it in unison again. Liam asked, if you divorce now, shouldn't you discuss the divorce terms? I'll have my lawyer contact you. Talk to my lawyer. Third unison. Ryan laughed. How about this? We each have our lawyers draft an agreement. We look them over first, And if there are issues, the lawyers can negotiate. Liam scoffed. Someone like you can afford a lawyer? Olivia nodded in agreement. Ryan took out his phone. Miss Sullivan, let's add each other on WhatsApp. It'll be easier to stay in touch. Olivia opened her quick response code. He scanned it, and the chat box popped up with the contact note. Silly granddaughter. Her face darkened. I'm embarrassed, too, he said quickly. I forgot we'd already added each other. He changed the note to silly girl, then said, see you later, and hailed a cab. In the car, Ryan called Jenny. Find me the best divorce lawyer. She absolutely cannot take a single cent from me. Boss, what exactly is the deal with your marriage? You can't both have amnesia. He sighed. One person definitely knows what's going on. Is it old Mrs. Sullivan? Ryan frowned. The Alzheimer's clinical trial drug needs to speed up, or we won't make it in time. At his apartment, old Mrs. Sullivan was waiting with a suitcase. Grandson-in-law, you're back. I brought lots of clothes. He paused, then broke into a helpless smile. That day, High Cheng's most famous law firm received 2 anonymous commissions with identical demands. The other party cannot take a single cent. The junior lawyer grumbled. I've never seen such ruthless spouses. But the senior lawyer chuckled. One contract earns double the fees. Send them to the clients. Later, Olivia received Ryan's divorce agreement in her office. Just as she opened it, Liam pushed the door open. Boss, the investigation results are in. Mr. Ryan only discovered you two were married a few days ago when he went to register. There's a lot of missing information about him from after he left the Lockwood family. Olivia thought for a moment. So you still think he's somehow involved in this? His purpose remains unclear. And Dr. Ray is elusive. We still haven't reached him. Olivia stayed silent. She didn't know that the Alzheimer's clinical trial drug was exactly what Ryan was developing. That evening, Olivia asked him to come downstairs. I have no objections, she said, handing him the agreement. Sign it. Ryan signed without hesitation. Let's divorce tomorrow. So soon. He was dying inside. His company was waiting to go public. See you at the registry office tomorrow morning. Old Mrs. Sullivan appeared suddenly, her face pale. You're getting divorced? The moment she said it, her eyes closed and she collapsed. In the hospital room, the doctor's warning was stern. Old Mrs. Sullivan cannot take any more stress. Absolutely do not upset her again. Olivia sat on the bench, her hands trembling. When old Mrs. Sullivan woke, she looked at Ryan with a raspy voice. Grandson-in-law, I dreamed that you and that naughty girl wanted to divorce. That's not true, is it? Ryan stayed silent, but Olivia spoke up. It's not true. Then no divorce. Give me your household registration booklet and marriage certificate. Yes, Olivia agreed. Old Mrs. Sullivan looked at Ryan again. Grandson-in-law, what the naughty girl said is true, right? Remembering the doctor's instructions, Ryan hesitated, then nodded. It's true. That night, he sat on the sofa working on English research materials. WhatsApp pinged with a message from Olivia. Once Grandma stabilizes, we'll go through with the divorce. He replied, fine. The agreement is signed anyway. We're nothing to each other. She sent another message. Any other requests? Once Grandma's well, just divorce as soon as possible. Old Mrs. Sullivan looked at them both. Naughty girl. I want to arrange a job for my grandson-in-law at Sullivan Group. Olivia paused, then agreed. Old Mrs. Sullivan was excited. Tomorrow you'll go to work with that naughty girl. Ryan agreed. Sullivan Group's archives were rich, perfect for his research. In the hallway, Liam complained. Boss, he's obviously trying to sneak into the company. How could you agree? If I don't keep him under my watch, how will he show his true colors? Olivia said coldly. In the hospital room, old Mrs. Sullivan waved Ryan over. Grandson-in-law, let me tell you a secret. If that naughty girl bullies you, fight back. Don't let her fool you with that cool, untouchable act. She's actually afraid of cats. Ryan's expression froze. In his memory, a girl he knew when he was young had also been afraid of cats. Grandson-in-law, do you prefer cats or dogs? He'd used to like cats when he was a kid, But an older girl didn't like them, so he'd stopped liking them too. He quickly composed himself. Why was old Mrs. Sullivan asking this? The next day, on the top floor of Sullivan Group, a cute puppy wagged its tail and circled around Ryan. Liam was speechless. Old Mrs. Sullivan arranged for Mr. Ryan to take care of this little puppy? Olivia didn't understand, either. Take them to the new Energy R&D department, Team 1, for onboarding. The elevator ride was awkward. Liam said, Mr. Ryan, most of the staff in Sullivan Group's R&D department are PhD students. You're the first undergraduate. The boss arranged this specifically for you. No need to be eternally grateful. It's her reward for you, keeping old Mrs. Sullivan happy. Ryan's mouth twitched. By the way, your relationship with the boss, she doesn't want it made public to avoid any drama once you divorce. Coincidentally, I have the same concern. Liam was stunned that this guy actually had the audacity to look down on his boss. The first day was easy. No one assigned Ryan any tasks, so he happily played with the puppy in the office. After it fell asleep, he closed the door and headed straight for the archives on the 66th floor. Only by developing the Alzheimer's drug and having old Mrs. Sullivan recover enough to remember the past could he finally understand the bizarre marriage. The books here covered top-tier knowledge from every field, some unavailable to outsiders. Ryan felt a faint thrill. On the top floor, Olivia received a text from her grandmother, whose WhatsApp display name had been changed to Grandma, who can't be stressed. Naughty girl, eat lunch with your grandson-in-law today. Remember to send me a photo. Olivia sighed and pressed the call bell. Liam, prepare 2 lunches and send them up. She messaged Ryan, but he didn't reply. On the 66th floor, he was so absorbed in searching that he didn't notice Cindy staring at him. When he stepped back, he bumped into someone. Sorry. He turned around. Cindy was staring at him with a complex expression. Ryan, are you going to all this trouble to please great-grandma just to get close to Auntie Olivia? His expression turned cold. None of your business. Auntie Olivia has never been interested in men. Don't think you can seduce her with that face of yours. She's not that shallow. Look, she just tossed you some meaningless job to brush you off. I see. So when you chased me for so long, it was because you're shallow. Cindy's eyes turned red. I know you hate me for marrying Frank, but I had no choice. Elite marriages involve many considerations. My mother agreed to let me be with an ordinary person, but given your background, I could never marry an illegitimate son. Otherwise, I'd be a laughingstock. Thanks for not marrying me. As he turned to leave, Cindy blocked him. I can arrange for you to work in my team. I know you're competitive. You'll learn quickly. What's the condition? Divorce your wife and come with me. Ryan looked at her coldly. You're not worthy. Why do you love that thug wife of yours so much? Believe me, I can give her some money or hire someone to threaten her, and she'll abandon you. How could she ever compare to me? His voice was ice. I didn't want to crush your ego, but since you insist on digging deeper, let me tell you. My wife is prettier than you, and her figure is better, too. He turned and saw Olivia at the corner. Cindy picked up her phone and called Frank. Aren't you having lunch with Dr. Ray tomorrow afternoon? Take me with you. Olivia led Ryan to the top floor. You eat first. I still have some work. She took a photo of him and sent it to Grandma. Ryan felt a bit guilty. From her demeanor, she probably hadn't heard what he said earlier. Miss Sullivan, your lunch is quite lavish. Olivia sat across from him, picking up her chopsticks. After all, good nutrition is needed to maintain a good figure. Ryan's face flushed. He awkwardly packed up a portion of food. I just remembered I haven't fed the puppy yet. I should head out. Thanks for the lunch. After work, Olivia called her grandmother. Where are you? At the hospital. I had chest pains again this afternoon, so I want to stay a few more days. Naughty girl, are you coming to stay with me tonight? If not, let me lie pitifully alone. I'm on my way. By the way, I already told my grandson-in-law to come keep me company. You and he should come together. Olivia pressed her temples and messaged Ryan. I'll pick you up after work to go to the hospital. He replied quickly. No need. I already took a cab, and I'm on my way. Although she wanted distance, seeing him avoid her inexplicably annoyed her. At the hospital, Ryan carried the puppy into the inpatient ward. Not far away, Mrs. Lockwood had just finished a checkup. Frank supported her arm. "That's Ryan," he said. "How is he in the hospital? Is he sick?" Mrs. Lockwood asked hesitantly. Frank's eyes flickered. "He must be visiting old Mrs. Sullivan. Ryan is quite filial." Nancy frowned. "Filial my foot. He's never come to visit Madam." "Madam, you're still defending him. Young Master Ryan is an ungrateful brat. He probably forgot about you long ago." Frank chimed in. "I heard Miss Sullivan got him a job at Sullivan Group, so he's repaying old Mrs. Sullivan." Nancy scoffs. "Madam raised him. The kindness of raising someone is greater than the heavens, yet he never repays Madam." "That's enough," Mrs. Lockwood said. Frank feigned a sigh. "Mom, you're right, but some people do repay even the smallest kindness with great generosity, like Dr. Ray. Mom only gave him a bit of money, yet he's helped our family so much over the years. 3 years ago, when the company nearly went bankrupt, Dr. Ray gave us a technology patent that saved us." Compared like that, Lockwood smiled and patted his head. "I'll take you." Ryan watched this scene from the hospital room sofa, his gaze following Mrs. Lockwood's unhealthy pallor. Frank whispered something beside her, and she nodded helplessly. They looked intimate together. Only when they got in the car did Ryan reluctantly withdraw his gaze. Old Mrs. Sullivan stood behind him. "Grandson-in-law, who is that person? She looks so familiar." Her eyes lit up. "I remember. She's your mother. You look so alike." Ryan paused. Aside from the face shape, his features didn't resemble Mrs. Lockwood at all. The only thing alike was their cold, detached air. "Grandma, she's not my mother." But old Mrs. Sullivan was firm. "She is. Grandson-in-law, how can you not recognize your own mother?" "Grandma, Thankfully, Olivia arrived with dinner. The dinner was lavish, with fruit for the three of them. Old Mrs. Sullivan immediately frowned. Grandson-in-law can't eat mangoes. He's allergic to mango. Ryan's heart skipped. "Grandma, how do you know?" He'd been allergic before, but outgrew it 2 years ago, and he'd never mentioned it to her. "You told me before," old Mrs. Sullivan smiled. "You said when you ate mango, your face broke out in little red bumps." His expression turned serious. "When was before?" Old Mrs. Sullivan became hazy. "Seems like you told me before we got married." Ryan's mind was a stormy sea. He was certain he didn't know her before the marriage. "What else do you remember?" "Like how Olivia and I got the certificate." Old Mrs. Sullivan shook her head. "I can't remember." He sensed Olivia's scrutinizing gaze, her face cold. She must think he had ulterior motives again. He picked up the Shiba Inu. "Grandma, you two eat first. I'll go walk the dog." He hid at the end of the hallway, watching the hospital room. Soon, Olivia followed him out. "Mr. Ryan, do you have something to say?" "I thought you'd want me to explain something." "Is there anything you want to explain?" "Grandma's comments about things before the marriage. I genuinely don't know what's going on. A matter this personal, old Mrs. Sullivan couldn't make it up." Olivia stepped closer, her tone icy. "Mr. Ryan, I don't care what your purpose is. As long as you can keep Grandma happy, I'll protect you completely. I understand she doesn't care about the truth. As long as Grandma is happy, I can even turn a blind eye to your schemes." She added with imposing authority. "But if you hurt Grandma, I'll make sure you can't survive in High Cheng." Ryan let out a cold laugh. "Haven't you already done that, Miss Sullivan? You canceled my graduate recommendation and declared you'd make me disappear." Olivia frowned, but Professor Walker's voice suddenly came from behind. "Ryan." He walked over, his voice raspy. "Has the misunderstanding with Ms. Sullivan been resolved? That Miss Sullivan really is inhumane. How can she be so vindictive? Canceling your graduate recommendation wasn't enough. She even said she'd make you disappear from High Cheng." Olivia looked confused. Ryan gave her a half-smile. "Professor, don't worry. It's already resolved. It was a misunderstanding. Miss Sullivan is actually quite nice. She got me a job and promised to protect me." Professor Walker breathed a sigh of relief, then turned to Olivia. Is this your thug wife? Olivia's face turned completely dark. Ryan's smile widened. Something like that. Professor Walker spoke earnestly to Olivia. Young lady, you're pretty. You should work hard to find a proper job. At the Lockwood mansion, Richard found Mrs. Lockwood listless. Sophia, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Frank cut in. Dad, we ran into Ryan at the hospital today. Mom's a bit worried about him. Why worry about him? He's the one who offended Ms. Sullivan. Frank, he's nothing to me. Who is Ryan compared to you? Mrs. Lockwood disagreed. Richard, if Frank was wrong, he should apologize to Ryan. Richard frowned. Apologize? My son apologized to Linda's son. Linda, standing nearby in a servant's role, clenched her fists with resentment. Richard would never know that Frank, the son he cherished, was actually her son. As for Ryan, he deserved to be ignored and suppressed. Frank took Mrs. Lockwood to her room. If you have time tomorrow, I'll take you to visit Ryan and apologize. His eyes lit up. Okay, Mom. You're the best to me. Later, Mrs. Lockwood spoke to Nancy. My health has been poor all these years. I haven't disciplined Frank properly. I've truly failed. Madam, you're overthinking. Young Master Frank is filial and considerate. Small flaws can be corrected later. Mrs. Lockwood smiled bitterly. Ryan never lies. She broke into a violent cough. Supported by Nancy, she walked toward the bed. That secret still weighed on her, making it hard to breathe. The next day, from the moment Ryan woke up, he felt nervous. It had been 10 years since he'd last seen Mrs. Lockwood. At noon, he went home to change clothes. Old Mrs. Sullivan asked Olivia to take her home. In the hallway, Liam handed Ryan a piece of paper. These are professors and new energy majors at the top universities, more famous than Professor Walker. You can pick one to continue your graduate studies. It's the boss's compensation for your canceled recommendation. Mr. Ryan, meeting our boss is a blessing in disguise for you. Ryan's mouth twitched. No need. Then you want to be Dr. Ray's graduate student? Liam frowned. That's tricky. Dr. Ray is in extremely high demand. A genius professor like him only takes top students. You probably wouldn't catch his eye. Worst case, you can try to pursue a PhD under Dr. Ray after graduation. Ryan looked at him like he was an idiot. He turned to Olivia. Miss Sullivan, no need to see me off. I'll take a cab home. Olivia stared at the direction he'd left, then told Liam. Help him contact Dr. Ray. What? Liam was dumbfounded. At the private kitchen restaurant, Mrs. Lockwood arrived early with Frank and Cindy. Cindy pushed open the private dining room door and saw a man's tall back pouring tea. Hello, Dr. Ray. I'm Cindy from Sullivan Group. Nice to meet you. Ryan turned around, a playful look on his face. Cindy's expression shifted. Ryan, why are you here? Where's Dr. Ray? Ryan didn't answer. Mrs. Lockwood walked in with Frank. Seeing Ryan, her eyes welled up. You're Ryan. Madam, how have you been lately? I'm well. Ryan, what about you? Your father said you got married. Frank's eyes flashed with darkness. Ryan, we should have invited you to dine with us, but you're probably not convenient. We'll give you a bigger tip later to help with your living expenses. Watch your mouth, Mrs. Lockwood scolded. She turned to Ryan. Today we're meeting Dr. Ray. You're in the new energy field too, right? Get to know him. It'll benefit your future. Frank picked up a steaming hot teacup. Ryan, Mom asked me to apologize to you yesterday. Let me toast you with tea instead of wine. His fingers loosened, and the tea was about to spill on Ryan. Ryan pivoted and bumped into him, making the cup bounce back onto Frank. The scalding tea made him cry out loudly. Ryan, I know you hate me, but how could you do this? Ryan feigned innocence. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Cindy snapped. Ryan, is this how you serve customers? Call your manager right now. Mrs. Lockwood shielded him. Enough. We're all family. Cindy was angry. Let Ryan leave for now to avoid more conflict. Mrs. Lockwood looked at him apologetically. Ryan, come home more often when you have time. Next time there's a chance, I'll take you to visit Dr. Ray. Frank quickly changed the subject. Mom, why isn't Dr. Ray here yet? Ryan said with a half smile. He's already here. All three in the room turned to look at him. Mrs. Lockwood was about to ask further when she suddenly broke into violent coughing and collapsed on the dining table. Ryan instinctively moved to support her, but Frank shoved him away. Get out. What did you do to my mom? Mom, wake up. The ambulance arrived quickly. Ryan tried to get in, but Cindy grabbed him. Stay away from Mrs. Lockwood. If you make her sick from anger, I won't let you off. At the hospital, the hallways were packed with no available beds. Olivia, watching from upstairs, instructed Liam, get Mr. Ryan a hospital room. A very important person room became available. Frank was overjoyed. Cindy, you really have connections. Cindy silently took the credit. Ryan tried to follow, but Frank blocked him. Ryan, Mom needs rest. Don't disturb her. The door slammed shut. Ryan stood frozen, his heart burning with anxiety. He could only sit on the bench. Soon, Richard rushed in, worried. After confirming Mrs. Lockwood was okay, he dragged Frank out. What happened? How did she suddenly faint? Frank looked at Ryan. Ryan insisted on meeting Dr. Ray, argued with Cindy a bit, and made Mom upset. Richard glared at Ryan. You worthless creature. Without another word, he swung his arm to strike him. Ryan didn't dodge. His mind was filled with Mrs. Lockwood's pale face. Maybe, as Frank said, his very existence was misfortune, but the expected pain never came. He opened his eyes and saw only a cool figure blocking him. Olivia stood there like she was holding up the sky for him. Richard panicked. Miss Sullivan, you. Mr. Lockwood, you are disciplining your own son. I shouldn't interfere. But my grandma is fond of Ryan now. If she sees bruises on his face, she'll be upset. Olivia's voice was low and pleasant. Richard immediately said, It was thoughtless of me. Mrs. Lockwood's coughing came from inside the room. Richard and Frank went in. Ryan stood at the door, hesitating for a long time, listening to her weak voice. I'm fine. Don't worry. I haven't slept well in a long time. When I just fainted, I actually slept comfortably. Only then did his heart relax. Olivia asked, Not going in? Not for now. Otherwise, it'll be another war of words disturbing Mrs. Lockwood's rest. Just as he turned, old Mrs. Sullivan came over supported by the butler. I heard my grandson-in-law's mother was hospitalized. I came to see her. Ryan supported her arm. Grandma, Mrs. Lockwood isn't my mother. What? Did I get it wrong? Old Mrs. Sullivan took out her phone, found a photo, and handed it to him. Grandson-in-law, this is what you sent me before, saying it's you and your mother. Is the person in the hospital room not the one in the photo? Ryan froze. In the photo, Mrs. Lockwood and he were sitting by the sea, smiling brightly, looking just like a mother and son. But he hadn't seen her since leaving the Lockwood house. How could there be a photo together? He zoomed in. It was a crudely edited composite. When did I send this to you? Old Mrs. Sullivan shook her head. I don't remember. How did I send it? Email or text? She kept shaking her head. Ryan felt helpless. Old Mrs. Sullivan was firm. Grandson-in-law, she is your mother. You can't ignore your mother. After seeing old Mrs. Sullivan off, Olivia stood in the hallway. Liam quickly came over to report. Boss, we've checked. Mr. Ryan was working at that private kitchen restaurant and then ran into the Lockwood family. Olivia's voice was cool. Does Sullivan Group pay him so little that he has to work elsewhere? What were they doing? They were meeting Dr. Ray. Miss Cindy went for that reason too. And Dr. Ray never showed up. A faint light shimmered in Olivia's deep eyes. A ridiculous idea began to form. Inside the hospital room, Mrs. Lockwood looked much better after resting. Frank let Cindy go home first. Cindy was staying purely to wait for Dr. Ray. Mrs. Lockwood realized this, handed Frank the phone. We need to apologize to Dr. Ray for missing today. After Mrs. Lockwood rescheduled, Frank walked Cindy out. In the hallway, Frank said, Cindy, don't worry. There won't be any problem with Dr. Ray. There are a few tough characters in Sullivan Group's R&D department who don't accept me. If I can get Dr. Ray to join us, I'll secure my position. So Dr. Ray is very important to me. You have to convince him. The two entered the elevator. Ryan stepped out from the corner and pushed open the hospital room door. Richard's face darkened instantly. What are you doing here? Get out. Is that Ryan? Let him in. Mrs. Lockwood's gentle voice rang out. Richard warned him not to upset his wife further. I told you today wasn't because of Ryan. I just haven't slept well for days. She scolded gently and held his hand. Child, you must have been scared today. Her palm was warm. Ryan smiled and said no. Come home more often. And your wife, your father said she's a thug, but I don't believe it. Ryan has had good judgment since childhood. Bring her to meet me sometime. His nose tingled. Okay. She started coughing again. He pulled out a plastic bottle. This is cough medicine I had someone buy. Take one when you can't sleep at night. She nodded in agreement. As he left the room, he heard Richard scornfully say, How can you be bought over by a bottle of medicine from some random clinic? He tossed the bottle into the trash. Late that night, Mrs. Lockwood woke up coughing again. Anxious, she had thoughts of ending her life. By some impulse, she fished the medicine out of the trash and took one pill. A wave of coolness instantly wrapped around her itchy throat, and she drifted off to sleep. At 10 the next morning, Mrs. Lockwood was woken by Richard. She had actually slept until full daylight. Madam, the sleeping pills the doctor gave you yesterday really worked. You slept a full 10 hours. Nancy was so excited her eyes turned red. What sleeping pills? Mrs. Lockwood was confused. Cindy got them for you. Specifically found strong sleeping pills and added them to your medicine. Didn't expect it to actually work. Mrs. Lockwood noticed her throat felt much clearer, but her gaze fell on the unlabeled plastic bottle by her pillow. Richard heaped praise on his future daughter-in-law. This daughter-in-law is really wonderful. I heard the inpatient ward has been full lately, and it was Cindy who pulled strings to arrange this room. We owe her a lot. Frank pressed his advantage. Mom, Cindy has been so good to you. You should help her too. Her family wants her to manage the R&D department, but those researchers won't accept her. If we could invite Dr. Ray to be an external technical consultant, Cindy could secure her position. Mrs. Lockwood hesitated. I'll ask Dr. Ray, but if he doesn't agree, leave it be. Frank smiled broadly. As far as he was concerned, as long as Mrs. Lockwood asked, Dr. Ray never refused. She took out her phone, found Dr. Ray's profile photo, and sent a message. Ray, do you have time? I'd like to ask a favor. When Ryan got the message, he'd just come back from walking old Mrs. Sullivan downstairs. He frowned. Could it be that there was something wrong with yesterday's medicine? That drug was still in the clinical trial stage. He'd only taken it out early because she was seriously ill. He got anxious, asked the caretaker to take old Mrs. Sullivan home, and rushed over to Mrs. Lockwood's room. Soon he reached the hospital room, only to find Cindy and Linda already there. The cheerful laughter cut off the moment he walked in. Linda spoke up. Isn't this Mr. Ryan? Since you've climbed up to old Mrs. Sullivan's high branch, the rest of us aren't worthy of your attention anymore. She grabbed him by the arm. I heard you're focused on flattering old Mrs. Sullivan, serving her all night long. You think she'll treat you like her real grandson? You're just their plaything. Frank quickly said, Don't say that. Old Mrs. Sullivan really values Ryan. Linda raised her voice. What kind of valuing is that? Frank, the way Miss Cindy values someone like you. That's what real value looks like. She turned ingratiatingly towards Cindy. I heard yesterday there weren't any rooms available in the hospital. Even families with good backgrounds had to wait in line. It was all Miss Cindy's help that got Madam into the very important person room. Cindy looked at Ryan with a humble smile. Auntie probably doesn't know about this, otherwise she'd have helped too. I just did what little I could. Even if Miss Sullivan knew, she wouldn't bother thinking about you. Linda mocked him again. No matter how hard you try to please them, they just treat you like a pet cat or dog. Ryan clenched his fists, not wanting to argue in the hospital room. Outside the door, Olivia heard every word, her face turning cold. Liam immediately understood his boss's intent. He cleared his throat and walked straight in. Mrs. Lockwood, I'm here on behalf of Miss Sullivan to check on you. Is this hospital room comfortable for you? The room fell dead silent. Liam smiled. Mr. Ryan requested the boss to arrange it. Miss Cindy, did you also ask the boss? Cindy wished she could find a hole to crawl into. I made many calls and asked many people. I misunderstood. Frank clenched his fists, feeling utterly humiliated. Mrs. Lockwood broke the awkward atmosphere. Thank Miss Sullivan. The room is very comfortable. Once I feel better, I'll visit old Mrs. Sullivan. Liam said, if you're comfortable, Mr. Ryan won't worry, and old Mrs. Sullivan will be happy. Well, that's certainly flattering me. The few people in the room felt their hearts sink, while Mrs. Lockwood was genuinely happy. Ryan turned toward Linda, his mockery fully on display. Linda was beside herself with rage. You wretched brat, what are you so smug about? Shut up, Richard scolded furiously. My wife is sick and needs rest. What are you barking about here? Get back home. Linda glared at Ryan hatefully, covered her face, and ran off. Ryan looked at the bed. Madam, how did you sleep last night? Mrs. Lockwood subconsciously gripped the small medicine bottle under the blanket. I slept very well. I haven't slept this well in a long time. That's good. I'll be going now. Liam and Ryan left the room. Olivia was leaning against the hallway wall, looking at her phone. Seeing him come out, she parted her lips. Grandma was worried about you, so she insisted I come in person to check too. Although her voice was distant, Ryan's heart warmed. Thank you. The hospital room door opened, and Cindy and Frank stepped out. Seeing Olivia and Ryan together, Frank tensed as if facing a great enemy. Cindy questioned, Auntie Olivia, what are you doing here? Olivia's eyes glinted with amusement. My whereabouts don't seem to require reporting to you. Overwhelming pressure made Cindy's palms sweat. She looked jealously at Olivia. Auntie, you've been taking care of great-grandma at the hospital all this time. Doesn't your husband mind? Ryan glanced at Olivia and said with a half-smile, he shouldn't mind. Cindy's face changed drastically. Olivia suddenly spoke. Let's go back to the room. Grandma is waiting. Ryan smiled softly. Let's go. They turned and left, leaving Cindy with darkened eyes. She returned to Mrs. Lockwood's room. While tidying the bedding, she exclaimed, Why is there a bottle of pills on the bed? Richard frowned. Isn't that the unmarked pills Ryan gave? Why did you pick it back up? I took one last night. It seemed to work, Mrs. Lockwood explained. Impossible. It was clearly the sleeping pills that worked. Richard snatched the medicine. His pills. Who knows where he bought them? What if they harm you? Don't trust him. I won't take those tonight. Let's see which medicine actually works. Late that night, Mrs. Lockwood again coughed violently. Nancy held the so-called miracle sleeping pills, but they didn't work at all. Mrs. Lockwood's face turned red from coughing. Nancy rushed out and retrieved Ryan's medicine. Just as she was about to give it, Frank grabbed her hand. Mom, could it be these pills that made the cough worse? Medicine of unknown origin shouldn't be taken. Richard also fumed. Ryan brought poison to harm you. Mrs. Lockwood coughed too hard to speak. Her eyes locked on Nancy. Despite the pressure, Nancy pushed the medicine into Mrs. Lockwood's mouth. The cough stopped instantly. Mrs. Lockwood let out a long sigh of relief. In the outer room, Frank's face was pale. Dad, Ryan actually got hold of a specialty drug. He must have had Miss Sullivan help him get it. Richard frowned deeply. It seems old Mrs. Sullivan really does value him. In the very important person room, Olivia was chatting with Grandma. What did you eat for lunch? Old Mrs. Sullivan thought for a long time. Porridge. No, wait, it was noodles. Naughty girl, right? Olivia smiled and nodded, but her heart sank. Lunch was rice. Grandma forgot again. Her memory decline seemed to be getting worse. Ryan lazily spoke up. Grandma, what color earrings did Olivia wear yesterday? Old Mrs. Sullivan answered immediately. I remember. The naughty girl is so particular. She wore diamond cufflinks yesterday. And the day before? The day before was blue. I'm the one who bought her those blue earrings. Ryan smiled softly at Olivia with hidden meaning. Grandma remembers the things she cares about very clearly. Olivia looked at him sprawled in the beanbag, his posture relaxed. His words were meant to comfort her. Her anxious heart seemed to slowly ease. Old Mrs. Sullivan suddenly laughed. Grandson-in-law, what I just said was all correct, right? Ryan nodded. Yes. Naughty girl, did you see? My grandson-in-law even remembers what you wear every day so clearly. He really pays attention. He has feelings for you. Ryan froze. I just have a photographic memory. I really didn't memorize it on purpose. He was about to explain, but Olivia was just staring at her computer, ignoring them. What he didn't notice was the redness creeping up her ears. He continued researching materials on his phone. The final stage of the Alzheimer's drug still had no clear path. He stood up to take a walk. Just as he got downstairs to walk Kitty, someone tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around. It was Linda's gambling addict brother, Uncle Larry. Ryan, long time no see. I heard you've cozied up to the Sullivan family. I've been a bit short on cash lately. Could you lend me some money? Ryan sneered. No money. You serve that old hag so well, and she hasn't given you any cash. Not yet. Maybe she'll give some later. Larry smirked slyly. When that happens, you have to lend me some. If you give enough, Uncle can tell you a secret. He chuckled and walked away. Ryan scoffed. Just then, his phone rang. It was Mrs. Lockwood calling. In another hospital room, Frank saw that Dr. Ray hadn't replied for a long time, and Cindy was pressuring him hard. So he took Mrs. Lockwood's phone while she was asleep. In the contacts, he found Ray and called. The call connected. Ryan cleared his voice. Hello, Mrs. Lockwood. Is something wrong? Frank froze. Ryan. He stared in disbelief. He'd never mistake that voice. Ryan's heart sank, his voice growing colder. Frank, what are you doing with Mrs. Lockwood's phone? This is your number? Frank stammered. What nonsense are you talking about? He suddenly realized Ryan's nickname was also Ray. Mrs. Lockwood occasionally called him that. He breathed a huge sigh of relief. I just wanted to tell you, even if you've latched onto Miss Sullivan through old Mrs. Sullivan, you're at best just a toy. Miss Sullivan has a husband, but I'm different. I'm going to marry Cindy in the future and become a legitimate son-in-law of the Sullivan family. Congratulations, then. But in elite families, feelings aren't enough. I have Dr. Ray as my ace, so I'll always be undefeated. Ryan hung up, his mouth twitching. Since when did he become Frank's ace? Right after, his Dr. Ray account pinged with a notification. Frank again. Ryan put it on speaker. Frank's tone was respectful. Hello, Dr. Ray. I'm Sophia's son, Frank. Sullivan Group would like to invite you to join their R&D team. This is also what my mother wishes. Are you interested? Ryan cut him off coldly. I only serve companies under Mrs. Lockwood's name. He hung up. Monday, Ryan returned to Sullivan Group for work. Just as he left the hospital and prepared to hail a cab, a car pulled up smoothly beside him. Olivia looked straight ahead. Get in. Grandma wants me to drive you to work. At the company, he headed straight for the 66th floor archives. The R&D department was announcing a promotion. Cindy was being promoted to vice president, the reason being that she had supposedly recruited Dr. Ray. On the top floor, Liam reported his whereabouts. His real reason for joining Sullivan is to look at research materials. He spent the whole morning in the library and hasn't eaten lunch. Olivia's eyes flashed. She headed down alone to find him. At the neuroscience section bookshelf, Ryan was climbing a ladder to reach the top shelf. After grabbing the book, he was thrilled, but he missed a step and fell, landing right on top of Olivia. Realizing who it was, he quickly got up. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Olivia took a moment to compose herself, her ears red. The atmosphere was awkward, so he made an excuse and slipped away. Before leaving, he hid the important book in an inconspicuous corner. When he returned later that afternoon, the book was gone. There was only one person in the whole company who could just take it. On the top floor, Olivia was flipping through the deep and complex neuroscience text. Liam muttered beside her. Boss, Ryan really doesn't appreciate kindness. He's not even here to work. That's right. He was never here to work in the first place. Should we return this book? Olivia tapped her fingertips on the book, remembering his expectant doe eyes today. Her chest felt inexplicably warm. Not for now. After work, the car sat in the underground parking lot. Liam asked, "Boss, shall we go?" No rush. Olivia held the thick book in her hand. Only when Ryan got in the car did she look up and say, "Let's go." Back at the hospital, just as they reached the very important person room, they heard Linda's ingratiating voice. "Old Mrs. Sullivan, I came especially to see you. We really have a connection." Old Mrs. Sullivan blocked the doorway. "Get out. If you don't leave, I'll have someone beat you." Linda forced a smile. "I'm Ryan's mother. Don't you love him most? For his sake, you shouldn't treat me this way." "You're not his mother," old Mrs. Sullivan stated firmly. "Mrs. Lockwood is his mother." Linda broke out in a cold sweat. "How do you know?" She was terrified. The baby swap was known only to her and her brother Larry. Seeing Olivia and Ryan approach, she nervously composed herself and walked up to Ryan, handing over a thermal flask. "Ryan, Mom brought you chicken soup. Taking care of old Mrs. Sullivan has been hard work. Eat more to recover." Ryan found it mocking. "What do you want? Still those last 2% shares? Old Mrs. Sullivan values you so much. If you ask, she'll definitely agree. Help your brother, otherwise he can't hold his head up in front of Cindy." His eyes turned ice cold. "I won't help." Linda's face stiffened. She simply sat on the ground and wailed. "Fine. I gave birth to you with great effort, and now that you've climbed the social ladder, you turn cold and heartless. Everyone come look. My son is an ungrateful brat, despising me for my low background, wanting to be someone else's grandson." Ryan watched her impassively. "Make all the fuss you want. If you disturb other patients, security will throw you out." He walked past her. Linda erupted in fury. "Ungrateful brat." She leaped up and hurled the chicken soup straight at him. "Watch out." Olivia pulled him into an embrace, shielding him from behind, taking all the scalding heat. His pupils contracted. "Are you okay?" "Fine." Her brow furrowed slightly as she watched Linda flee in panic. Entering the room, old Mrs. Sullivan tugged at her clothes. "Olivia, take it off quickly. Let me see how badly you're burned. Any blisters? Grandson-in-law, come apply the medicine for her." She shoved the medicine into his hands and chased everyone else out. "I'm leaving her in your hands." Only the two of them remained. Olivia said quietly, "It's Grandma acting up. Let me call the nurse." "I'll do it." Ryan walked behind her. The evening light fell on her back. He dabbed ointment on his fingertips and gently applied it. She didn't make a sound until the medicine was fully applied. She fixed her hair. "Mr. Ryan, thank you." "You're welcome. Actually, you didn't have to shield me. If you got hurt, Grandma would be very upset." Olivia looked at him steadily. "Have you forgotten you're my husband right now?" His heart skipped a beat. Olivia seemed a bit different now. "I'm going out for a bit." "To do what?" "Revenge. I plan to find Linda." But in the corridor, he spotted Frank and Uncle Larry. Larry rubbed his hands. "Dear Frank, I'm a bit short on cash." Frank suppressed his anger. "I already gave you this month's allowance. I'm at the end of my rope. If you don't give me money, I'll spill the truth." Ryan would definitely give a large sum. Ryan pushed the door open, his voice cold. "What truth?" Frank jumped in shock. "Ryan, what are you doing?" "Eavesdropping." Ryan pointed at Larry. "What truth?" "I can give you money." "How much?" Larry's eyes lit up. Frank panicked. "The money you want, I'll figure out a way, okay?" Before leaving, Larry whispered to Ryan, "My secret is always available to you. As long as you pay enough, I'll sell it to you." Ryan messaged Jenny to investigate Larry's background. He turned back to see Frank about to leave. He said casually, "If you don't want people to know, don't do it. You think I won't find out what's between you and Larry?" Frank stiffened. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Ryan stepped closer. "What kind of leverage does he have over you that you give him money every month? Stop making things up. I'd advise you, if you have the energy, think about your own way out. Don't waste time on me." "Where's Linda?" "She's your mother." "How would I know?" Frank quickly fled. Ryan called Linda. "I need you to come back and apologize to me." "No, Miss Sullivan won't let me off." "You apologize for me. You're my son. You should pay my debts." "If that's the case, don't blame me for calling the police." "Why would you call the police? I'm your mother. The one I want to hit is you." A mother hitting her child is only natural. Ryan hung up. For injuring Olivia, Linda was eventually detained for 48 hours. Back at the hospital room, Olivia was downstairs in a vehicle holding a meeting. Ryan sat by the bed. "Sorry." Old Mrs. Sullivan waved her hand. "Grandson-in-law, Why are family members saying things like this? Besides, seeing the naughty girl defend you makes me overjoyed. We are family. Those 3 words, we are family, made his eyes warm. At this moment, Frank scraped together 50,000 yuan and wired it to Larry with a note. Keep your mouth shut or neither of us ends well. His heart was full of fear. He just wanted to marry Cindy as soon as possible. Once he became a Sullivan's son-in-law, even if his identity was exposed, he'd still have a way out. At 9 in the evening, Cindy suddenly came looking for Frank. Frank was pleasantly surprised. Cindy, what brings you here? She demanded sternly. About Dr. Ray. Are you sure you've worked things out with him? Frank's eyes flickered. Of course. Then arrange a meeting between me and Dr. Ray. Dr. Ray went abroad. I'll arrange it when he comes back. Is there a problem you need solved? I'll contact him for you. Cindy stared at him suspiciously. I sent the problem to your email. Forward it to Dr. Ray and ask him to help solve it. Okay, I'll forward it right now. Frank knew Mrs. Lockwood's email like the back of his hand. She'd noticed that Dr. Ray always replied to Mrs. Lockwood instantly and never asked questions, which was why she dared to lie. She worked on her phone and forwarded it immediately. Dr. Ray usually replies to me within seconds. Cindy, just wait a moment. In the very important person room, Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. It was an email from Mrs. Lockwood. Ray, could you help solve this problem? The attachment was Sullivan Group's technical challenge. He scoffed. Frank was using Mrs. Lockwood's name to ask for his help. He replied coldly, I only serve the Lockwood family. Sullivan Group's problems are not my concern. Frank's notification sounded, and he opened the email with a smile, which froze the moment he saw the content. Cindy frowned. What's wrong? Frank suppressed his nerves with a strained smile. Dr. Ray said this problem will take a few days to solve. Cindy breathed a sigh of relief. That's normal. This problem is indeed difficult. I bet with people from Ryan's group that we'd have a solution before Friday. No problem, right? No problem. But Frank's eyes flickered. Cindy returned to the Sullivan estate. Her father, Eric, smiled. You truly are my good daughter. You actually managed to recruit Dr. Ray, securing your position in the R&D department so quickly. Her mother, May, was also moved to tears. Cindy clenched her fists. Having chosen the path of strategic marriage, she would never regret it. As for Frank, he was just her pawn. On the other side, Ryan sneezed and continued his work. Suddenly, a cup was placed in front of him. Olivia had brought a glass of water and set it on the side table. He was slightly stunned. Thanks. You're welcome. Just doing it on my way. Olivia naturally sat back in her seat. Old Mrs. Sullivan watched them grinning from ear to ear. The next day at the R&D department, Cindy stopped Ryan in the break area. There's a new energy industry conference tonight. Everyone attending is an industry heavyweight. I heard Dr. Ray might attend too. Sullivan Group R&D has invitations. I can take you to broaden your horizons and meet more people. No, thank you. Team lead Lynn scoffed. Trying to buy him over with one invitation? Ryan isn't that short-sighted. Cindy said coldly. You should understand I can offer him better resources. At that kind of gathering, do you think just anyone can go? At least I can take him. At the end of the workday, Lynn called Ryan over. There's a work event tonight. Come with me. He didn't think much of it. He sent Olivia a message about working late and got in Lynn's car. At the gala entrance, the attendant stopped Lynn. Sorry, Ms. Lynn. Sullivan Group already registered who to attend today. Your name isn't on the list. Cindy walked out with a champagne glass. Team lead Lynn, given Team B's R&D workload, I assumed you wouldn't come. So I declined your spot when registering. It's a bit late to add you now. You should just go back. Lynn boiled with fury. Cindy, that's outrageous. What right do you have to decline for me? I'm the vice president of the R&D department. Of course, I can make decisions for you. Cindy turned to Ryan. Ryan, do you see clearly? Without my approval, you can't even get through this door. Ryan looked up calmly. Really? He took out the digital invitation Jenny had sent to his email and handed it to the attendant. Can I go in now? The attendant took one look and respectfully stepped aside. Please come in. Cindy's face changed drastically as she stared at the personalized invitation on his phone. What identity did you use to get this invitation? None of your business. Ryan closed the screen and said to Lynn, let's go. Lynn was overjoyed. After he entered the venue and started exchanging pleasantries with industry leaders, Frank and Cindy walked over. Some senior executives, seeing Frank, immediately crowded around him. Mr. Frank, when exactly will Dr. Ray make an appearance? We'd love to consult him. Frank basked in the attention. Today, I'm just accompanying my fiancée. Lynn was pushed to the margins, whispering to him, Jenny will be here later. Don't be shy. Be bold and go offer a toast. So many people want to meet her. Ryan's mouth twitched. I'll introduce you later. Lynn took it as bragging. Just then, there was a commotion at the entrance. Jenny had arrived. Frank confidently adjusted his suit and walked toward Ryan. Ryan, do you need me to introduce you to director Jenny? Cindy chimed in with sarcasm. You think Jenny is the type who falls for looks? Countless handsome men have approached her, and she's been unmoved by all of them. Don't overestimate your charm. Before he could finish, Jenny swept past them like a gust of wind. Under the entire room's shocked gaze, she rushed excitedly up to Ryan. Boss, what are you doing here? The scene plunged into dead silence. Frank's extended hand froze in midair, his smile freezing into ridiculous horror. Cindy was dumbfounded, nearly dropping her champagne glass. Director Jenny, are you mistaken? Frank stammered. He's Ryan, just a nobody in our family. Jenny didn't even acknowledge him. Boss, I sent dozens of emails asking you to attend, and you always said you were busy. Turns out you came on an incognito visit. Ryan smiled helplessly. I'm here with a leader on some private business. Boss. Cindy shrieked, her voice cracking. Jenny, you call him boss? Isn't he that kept man Ryan with a thug wife? Jenny turned coldly, her eyes like knives. Miss Cindy, watch yourself. Standing before you is the technical genius your Sullivan Group has been desperately seeking, and the legendary Dr. Ray who has never appeared in public. A suppressed gasp rippled through the crowd. Impossible. Frank completely lost composure, pointing at Ryan. Dr. Ray has clearly been in contact with my mom all this time. How could he be this illegitimate son? Ryan, what did you offer Jenny to make her come with you? Ryan stepped forward, looking at him coldly. Frank, you stole Mrs. Lockwood's phone to send emails. Did you really think I wouldn't know? The line I only serve the Lockwood family. Didn't you just receive that? Frank's face turned pale. His legs gave way, and he collapsed to the floor. Cindy swayed unsteadily. She'd always thought he was struggling in the mud, trying to humiliate him with 50,000 yuan, but in a blink, he'd become the god she must look up to. Just then, a commotion erupted at the door, and Mrs. Lockwood walked in, supported by Nancy. Her complexion was rosy, her steps steady, with no trace of yesterday's illness. Ryan. She walked straight to him, tears in her eyes. That medicine was made by you yourself, wasn't it? Ryan nodded. Are you feeling better? Wonderful. Mrs. Lockwood turned to Richard and Linda, her voice cool and firm. Richard, haven't you always wanted to meet Dr. Ray? He's right here, and my trusted aide Nancy has told me the truth about what happened back then. Nancy stepped forward, staring at Linda. Linda, did you think swapping babies at the hospital could be hidden forever? I've been investigating and observing you all these years. I watched you closely. A woman who completely ignores her own son, yet shows abnormal devotion to someone else's son. I knew something was off long ago. I already had the DNA test done. She threw out a report. Richard took it with trembling hands. After reading the result, he whipped around and slapped Linda across the face. How dare you swap your bastard child for my son? Linda screamed and collapsed completely. Frank stared at the report, crying out in despair. No, I'm the young master of the Lockwood family. I'm the heir. Ryan watched it all with cold detachment. Identity, wealth, bloodline. The things that once shackled him now felt as light as a feather in his eyes. Boss, the car is ready, Jenny reminded him softly. He turned to leave when a hand gently grasped his. Olivia had appeared behind him at some point. She had changed into an ink-black dress, the burn on her back hidden under the fabric, but the way she looked at him had none of its former coldness. Ryan, she said softly, a touch of dependence even she herself didn't notice. Grandma is still waiting for us at the hospital. He looked at her, and the softest place in his heart was gently struck. Okay, let's go home. As they walked out of the banquet hall, Cindy rushed out tearful and pitiful. Ryan, I was wrong. Can we go back to how we were in college? His steps didn't slow. Without turning his head, he left a single line. Cindy, you once said an illegitimate son and a thug make a perfect match. I think you and Frank, as he is now, are truly the perfect match. Behind them were Cindy's hopeless sobs. Ahead was the dazzling High Cheng city night. In the car, Olivia suddenly asked, when are you going to return that neuroscience book to me? Ryan raised an eyebrow at her. Are you interrogating me, Miss Sullivan? She turned her face toward the window, her ears slightly red. I'm worried that if you, Dr. Ray, ever leave one day, Grandma will tear Sullivan Group apart. He laughed helplessly and casually wrapped his arm around her shoulders. This time she didn't pull away. Relax, the contract hasn't expired yet. Besides, I haven't officially become your husband yet. 3 months later, on the day the Alzheimer's clinical drug was successfully developed, High Cheng City had its first autumn rain. When Ryan came out of the lab, he saw Olivia standing at the entrance, holding a black umbrella, wearing that ink-black dress he'd seen so many times. She seemed to have been waiting a long time, with fine raindrops clinging to the tips of her hair. "Grandma asked me to pick you up," she said, still in that flat tone, but he could now see a hint of something different on that usually expressionless face. Her ears were red again. He walked over and naturally took the umbrella, pulling her under it with him. "Miss Sullivan herself coming to pick me up? I'm flattered." She glanced at him, said nothing, but didn't pull away. The car headed toward the Sullivan estate. On the way, she suddenly spoke. "That divorce agreement, break time equals 400 ms /." He turned to look at her. She paused, her gaze falling on the rain rushing past the window. Her voice was so soft it sounded like she was talking to herself. Grandma tore it up. He froze for a moment, then laughed. "So what do we do?" Olivia paused, showing a rare hint of embarrassment. "Grandma said she finally found me a grandson-in-law and won't let us divorce." He said nothing, just looking at her. She finally turned her face toward him, meeting his gaze. Outside the window, the rain pattered softly, and inside the car, it was quiet enough to hear each other breathe. Her eyes looked like fallen starlight after the rain. "Ryan," she called his name, her voice cool, but carrying a softness even she didn't notice. "The first treatment cycle begins tonight." "Thank you." He looked at her, suddenly wanting to tease her. "Just a verbal thanks?" She froze, a hint of bewilderment crossing her face. He laughed, reached out, and ruffled her hair. "Just teasing." She glared at him, but didn't pull away from his hand. The car stopped at the entrance of the Sullivan estate. The rain had stopped, and a strip of sunset showed on the horizon. Old Mrs. Sullivan was already waiting at the door. Seeing them step out, she immediately greeted them with a beaming smile, taking his hand with one of hers and Olivia's with the other, pulling them into the house. "Quick, quick, we've been waiting to start dinner." At the dinner table, old Mrs. Sullivan picked food for him one moment, and for Olivia the next, muttering, "Grandson-in-law, eat more. Naughty girl, you too. You've both gotten thin." For once, Olivia didn't object to being called naughty girl. She just ate quietly, occasionally glancing up at him. After dinner, old Mrs. Sullivan pulled them out to sit in the courtyard and drink tea. The sunset painted the whole courtyard a warm orange, and the air smelled of earth after rain. Old Mrs. Sullivan suddenly said, "Grandson-in-law, naughty girl, I want to tell you something." They both looked at her at the same time. Old Mrs. Sullivan was smiling, but there was a glimmer in her eyes. "I remembered. How you two got the marriage certificate. I remembered." It turned out their marriage certificate was all arranged by old Mrs. Sullivan. They'd been registered passively without knowing. She smiled at Ryan. "Grandson-in-law, you won't blame me, will you?" He looked at Olivia, then at old Mrs. Sullivan, and suddenly laughed. "I don't blame you." Old Mrs. Sullivan nodded with satisfaction, looked at them both, and suddenly said, "Then when are you two going to have the wedding?" Olivia couldn't sit still anymore, and stood up to leave. Old Mrs. Sullivan grabbed her. "Where are you running? You're already married. Why so shy?" Ryan watched this scene with a smile, suddenly feeling this was the life he'd always wanted. Olivia finally broke free from old Mrs. Sullivan's grip, walked over to him, and said softly, "Let's go." He stood up and said goodbye to old Mrs. Sullivan. She waved with a smile and secretly slipped him a note. In the car, he opened the note. It read, "Grandson-in-law, if the naughty girl bullies you, tell me and I'll deal with her for you." He couldn't help but laugh. Olivia leaned over to look. After reading, she was silent for 2 seconds, then said, "Grandma has nice handwriting." He turned to look at her. She met his gaze and suddenly asked, "Ryan, what are you laughing at?" He looked at her and said earnestly, "Laughing at how lucky I am." She froze. "What?" "Without spending a single cent, I got a wife," he said. "Though it was fake, it seems like it's about to become real now." She stared at him for several seconds, then looked away toward the window,